Hello, everybody. Good evening. Well, it's good evening. Yeah, good evening. Everyone's doing great. Live again. Right. Let's see. Please. The phone chat live. Just to note, everybody, the 30 seconds is on for the messages, just so I don't get bombarded with messages. Just so you know. Hope everyone's doing great. Right. Wonder what's going on here.
Arriving here at about midday for a meeting that lasted no more than 2 hours. Spoke to three company bosses who were in the room. They all voted yes, and they said as they left, essentially they backed the reforms. They felt clearly there were issues around the CBI culture that needed addressing. The business needs a strong unifying voice, and the CBI can still be that voice. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as one put it. And it matters because business needs that voice. Politicians, ministers, and the opposition need someone they can talk to better understand what business needs in the back and forth that surrounds all sorts of areas of regulation, policy, taxation. During COVID, with the furlough scheme, the CBI was central to getting that scheme off the ground. Now, sometimes it's a thorn in the side of ministers. CBI famously opposed Brexit, which has caused all sorts of tensions with this administration, particularly Boris Johnson's government. It seems like from the mood music from those who've left the meeting, and more than 600 people attending either virtually or in person, it does seem like they will get the majority that they want to take the CBI forward. We'll get the result in about an hour, around 4 o'clock we should hear. They do get that mandate to go forward. Then that's the really hard work starts, which is to try and win back the support of the big businesses who walked away, and crucially, to win back the ear of ministers, to gain the influence without which the CBI really doesn't have a voice. It needs both the backing of business and the ear of ministers. It needs both to survive.
That result coming up within the next hour. Also coming up, we'll have more on that shock announcement in the world of sport. The PGA Tour and the European Tour are going to merge with LIV Golf. Fierce rivals. It's been called the most disruptive year in golf. A lot of litigation between the two, but they are going to merge. We'll have the latest on that. Plus, we're going to have much more for the Royal Courts of Justice. Prince Harry continues to give evidence in his phone hacking trial against the Mirror Group. Stay with us.
New Magnum Double Star Chaser and Sun Up. Cracking chocolate, popcorn flavour and caramel sauce for the night. White chocolate, coconut and mango sauce for the day. Pleasure is always on. D sells super motors with a super team. Test drives on a supersized runway, powered even at supersonic speeds. And celebrates with a really good brew. I'm just like a big kid. Driving the car that's worth well over £1 million. I'm going to have to put them all away now, actually. The customer's not coming. So wind up. Brand new supercar showroom. Coming soon to Quest.
At NFU Mutual, our quality car insurance can be relied on. You can claim with confidence as we pay out on 99% of claims with no quibble. And you don't lose your no claims discount if you're hit by an uninsured driver. You're covered if you break down, plus we reward loyalty by giving a saving on your renewal. We do all this so you can enjoy the more important things. We're also a rich recommended car insurance provider, and these are just some of the reasons why our customers choose to renew with us year after year. For quality car insurance you can rely on, join NFU Mutual today.
You were meant to act spontaneously. We were meant to help plan accordingly. Atom Protectors.
Enjoy more of the latest blockbusters than anywhere else this June on Sky Cinema.
All right, take a seat. You can't miss this. This is unmissable.
I can't get it out of my head.
This is unmissable. We're pushing forward.
Some days I wouldn't like it.
And don't miss the 30th anniversary of Jurassic Park. Enjoy more of the latest blockbusters on Sky Cinema.
This is Sky News live from central London as Prince Harry takes the stand at the High Court. The first senior royal to give evidence in court in more than a century, the Duke of Sussex describes the UK tabloid press as utterly vile. And in written evidence to the court, Prince Harry says the thought of Piers Morgan earwigging on his mother's private messages makes him feel physically sick. Also coming up, a state of emergency is declared as a dam is destroyed in the south of Ukraine. We're live on the scene as hundreds of thousands are evacuated. Russia and Ukraine blame each other.
The floodwaters have been washing down slowly but surely, swallowing up about 100 villages and towns.
Results are expected this hour in a crucial vote that could decide the future of the scandal-hit business group, the CBI. And a huge surprise in the world of sport as the PGA Tour and Saudi-backed rival Live Golf agreed to merge. A very good afternoon from the High Court, where Prince Harry is giving evidence in his phone hacking claim against the publisher of the Daily Mirror. And I should say it's got a lot busier outside in the last few minutes with more police and a lot more cameras too awaiting Prince Harry's departure. But for now, he is still in the witness box being cross-examined. His evidence due to continue for another half an hour, but that could change. He's the first senior royal to give evidence in court in more than a century. He's suing Mirror Group newspaper groups for damages over allegations that journalists were involved in phone hacking and other illegal information gathering in order to write articles about him. Well, Prince Harry arrived at the High Court at around 9:30 this morning and has been giving evidence for more than 4 hours. He's also expected to continue his evidence tomorrow. Let's just bring you through some of the main points that have happened in court today. In court today, Prince Harry said he's experienced hostility from the press since he was born, and that newspaper articles caused him to become paranoid about people around him. Mirror Group newspaper's barrister questioned the Duke of Sussex's timeline, arguing he could not have been hacked when one article titled "Diana So Sad" was written in 1996, as he did not have a phone. Prince Harry's father, King Charles, was also named in an exchange about an article called "Harry's Cocaine, Ecstasy and GHB Parties." The prince suggested the story originated from what he called unlawful information gathering. And in the Duke of Sussex's witness statement, he called the behaviour of the press utterly vile, saying he had been described as Playboy Prince, dropout and thicko. He said he ended up playing up to the headlines and stereotypes, and that the thought of Piers Morgan and his journalists earwigging into his late mother's messages made him feel physically sick. Well, as I say, we are awaiting Prince Harry's departure. It's certainly got a lot busier out here with police and cameras. We'll obviously bring that to you as soon as there's any sign of Prince Harry. But for now, his evidence does continue at the High Court. Let's just bring in our royal correspondent, Laura Bundock, and media lawyer Jonathan Code, who've been with me throughout and have been in and out of court, listening to what Prince Harry's evidence has to say. And Laura, how's he getting on? I mean, it's been a tough day, hours and hours of fairly ruthless cross-examination from the Mirror Group newspaper's barrister. How's it going?
Yeah, it's intense in there, and you can see it's intense for Harry. These are direct, difficult questions that he is facing, and he told the court it's not particularly enjoyable to have to go through this again. He's reliving difficult moments of his life, moments he probably doesn't want to have to pick over again, but he's decided he wants to be in here. He wants these cases heard. We've heard several of the stories that were published about him, and how the Mirror Group newspaper barrister believes, look, we have huge sympathy. There was an enormous amount of press intrusion into your life, but it doesn't follow that means all this information came as a result of the unlawful activity. There was an article quoted, Harry is ready to quit Oz, about Harry's gap year in Australia. They say that, look, the content of this article came from what the press had been told by the palace. They quoted another newspaper that said the information had come from Mark Dyer, and they say it's a young man in the article reported that your minder said you'd been inside watching video games. So that private bit of information about Harry's time in Australia, they say it came from your minders. It didn't come from illegal information gathering. Then this story, Beach Bum Harry. Harry was talking about the Queen, how she had said, as he said, one of her senior staff to help out and assist, because he was being hounded by the paparazzi. He says the photographers popped up in places. There is no way they could have known I was going to be there, only because the phones around me, people were being hacked into.
Okay, Laura, thanks so much. We'll be back to you and Jonathan in just a second. Do stay with us. We'll bring you more from the High Court in just a moment, but let's cross back to Sarah Jane, who's got some breaking news. Yeah, thanks very much, Sally. This is about the vote that was happening regarding the future of the Confederation of British Industry. CBI members have voted in favour of saving the organisation, and 93% of votes backing the motion to save the Confederation of British Industry, subject to a lot of reforms. It's been surrounded in controversy over recent months, allegations of a toxic culture, sexual harassment. Let's bring in our business correspondent, Paul Kelso, who was at that meeting and speaking to some members of the CBI a little bit earlier on. And Paul, we did think it would go this way because it has been such an influential group. And the idea is now that it can stay, but it really has to pull its socks up and change its ways.
Yes, indeed. Certainly the mood music of members leaving the meeting was that it had been positive. This is a thumping majority, it should be said, 93% in favour, 7% voting against. That is, by any reading, a mandate for changing for the reforms that the new Director General, Rain Newton-Smith, has set out in concord with the board. They've taken advice, they've had recommendations from external lawyers following this rash of allegations about the culture, and some very serious allegations, anonymous and as yet unproven, of 2 instances of rape, misconduct, allegations unconnected to those more serious claims against Tony Danker, the former Director General. Have already seen him go, so the CBI was in trouble. 371 votes were cast, the CBI say, 23 abstentions. It should be said that while this is a mandate from the remaining members, some of the biggest and highest profile companies in Britain walked away from their membership, at least 30 of them, high street names, big banks, engineering companies, manufacturers walked away when these allegations landed. They haven't come back to the table, and speaking to them in the last week or so, they don't have any plans to immediately do so. What the CBI does have now is a platform from which to institute its reforms. A lot of them are very much about process and culture, which will take some time, but they will hope that might start to tempt back some of the bigger players. Crucially, they'll hope it can win back the ear of ministers and the opposition, who at the moment, politicians aren't talking to the CBI either, and it needs both. It needs the businesses it represents as members to open the door to ministers, to give the influence that the companies want in the first place. You can't have one without the other. And to really regain its position, the CBI is going to need both, but this is a good start.
Paul, thank you. Some more breaking news for you now. The Independent Office for Police Conduct have just announced that it is criminally investigating the actions of the Metropolitan Police, the Metropolitan Police Service officer, to be specific, who was involved in a